Okay, good morning and welcome to Iyun Benzion, Kesubos, Vav number 96. The Gemara lays down a fundamental difference between collecting an almana, a widow collecting from her deceased husband's orphans or his heirs. She's entitled from Takanas Chazal to not only live in his house but also to collect mizonos as long as she doesn't get remarried or collect her ksuva. She gets fed by them. Where seems the paskin, they are obligated to feed her until she decides she wants to let her ksuva. She gets fed from them, and if she wants to collect the ksuva, she collects the ksuva. Now, the Gemara notes that both metaltlin and carcos, they're only eligible to be paid off from real estate. For example, if the husband has no real estate, he doesn't have a house, he has nothing, so he only has movable objects. He might have fancy cars, fancy watch collection, Patek Philippe, some Rolexes. It doesn't make a difference because she's not allowed to collect. The only thing that she has sort of a lien on, we'll talk about more in a second, is the Carcos, not the metaltlin. The Gemara makes a distinction where if b'di'evid she took the watches, can she keep it for her mizonos or for ksuba? The Gemara seems to paskin that for mizonos she could keep it, for ksuba she can't keep it. We take the watch out of her possession and she can't collect it for a ksuba. What's the difference? So we've talked about balchov, right? When you owe somebody money, right? Milvelo, son, he gives me money, I spend it. Now I have a debt to somebody, right? So there's a lien on your property. If I owe money to somebody, I sell property, so he has a lien, he can collect from me. Now, if he wants to collect from me, from the balchov, me, the person who owes him money, so he can collect not only from Carcos, from a metaltlin also. The Gemara says, "Afil maglimo da'akata." He can take off the guy's shirt. He can take my shirt. He can take off my Brooks Brothers shirt. He can take it and can sell it. I don't know how much you get for it, but he can take it off. And from me, minei d-day, from the balchov himself, he can take everything from the guy, even the shirt off his back. However, what happens if you sell property? And what happens if you die and you leave over yorshim? Right? Do we say collect from a metaltlin? So this is a really discussion at the end of Masechtas Bava Basra. The shibuda is a raisa, shibuda is the rabbanon. But the two nafkaminas are the people, the mocher, the matana that he gave it to somebody, his possessions, and the yorshim. Right? So I've mentioned in previous shiurim that when it comes to Yerusha, it's different than selling your property to someone. Yerusha, the Gemara says, Brakra da'avuah, the son, the children, the inheritors are like the leg of their father. And I explained that it only is talking about Carcos, because Carcos don't go anywhere, right? They don't go anywhere. So we don't say that there was a transfer of ownership from the field, from the father to his sons. No. It's just the father is deleted. He's not there anymore. So the sons are Mali Makomo, that they come in place of their father. There was no transference of ownership over there. However, metaltlin, movable objects, it's like selling them. It's a transference of ownership because they do move. They move around. So therefore, it's like a mechira, like I sold to somebody else during a lifetime, right? If I died and I left over inheritors, so they would, it would be a transfer of ownership. So that's the difference in carcos and metaltlin. So that's why your claim against metaltlin is weaker, because carcos, you're collecting from the yorshim, you're collecting from the guy himself. Metaltlin, you're collecting from a different party. People inherited a transfer of ownership. So what's the difference in ksuva and mizonos? Mizonos is a perpetual chiyuv. It's always an obligation until you give her the ksuva and almana. Once a man marries a woman, so he's chayiv midaraisa and sheira, mizonos. He has to feed her her basic needs. Rabbanan, he has to give her maybe luxuries or what she's accustomed to, or maybe the best of he could afford to give her. But the basic necessities for food are on the husband. And that doesn't stop. Once he dies, like this Mishnah talks about, we pass on money in the zonas, are obligated to feed her also. So it's like a line of credit. She can always collect her mizonos. So it's a perpetual chiyuv. So therefore, that's called shibud haguf. Shibud haguf means, right, that you have an obligation, not just monetarily, but I have to do everything I can, maybe even to go work and to pay off my chov. It's perpetual chiyuv. However, ksuba is different. The ksuba, the basic doraisa ksuba, is basically it's payment for a service. What was a service? You got to marry her and be boal, psula, or an almana, right? The sexual rights to this woman. That's what your ksuba basically is. There's tosefes ksuba, which is in addition to that, but it's predicated on the basic premise of the ksuba. So once you're together with her, so it's like anytime I go to the barber shop and he cuts my hair, right? And now you pay after he cut my hair. Now I owe him money. The service was done. It's a service, right? The service is done. It's like taking out a loan, right? He gave me the money. I can spend the money. I owe him money. It's not that I perpetually have to give him something, right? It's not like a line of credit. So there's a big difference, fundamental difference over here. When the service was already done, now I owe somebody money. So yes, I have to do everything I can in my power, maybe the shibat aguf on me, to make sure, right, when I borrow money from somebody, you can collect from the matalton. I have to do everything to collect, but it is only a shibat aguf, not a shibat amomon, not a shibat on my property, right? However, by mazonos, when I have perpetual chiyuv to give you something, so there's always a chiyuv, not just on my goof to pay back the loan, but also my mamon. Right? I have to pay back. I have to use all my assets to pay you back. Constantly, it's on my assets. So if I sell my field to somebody, so there's a lien on the field, and therefore, if I were to die, so by Carcos, of course they can collect because that's been komi. However, when it comes to metaltalin, they can't collect by lechatchila. You're not supposed to collect for mizonos. But b'di'evet it works. Why does it work b'di'evet? It works b'di'evet because even though it's a transfer of ownership, it's like I sold land to somebody else. I sold metaltalin to my children. Nonetheless, there's a shibud on my property. On my property, there's a shibud. There's a lien. There's a guarantee, a lien. So technically, shibud maybe is their abonon, and they didn't guarantee it by metaltalin. But midoraisa, there is a shibud. Midoraisa is a shibud on Carcos, maybe not a shibud on metaltalin, but technically there is a midoraisa shibud on metaltalin. Rabbanan maybe they abrogated it, but therefore I have to pay back metaltalin. However, when it comes to the ksuba, that's just payment for something which happened in the past. That's shibud on my goof. Now, if by Carcos I die, so my children are replacing my body, they're just in place of me, so of course the Carcos are meshubad. However, the metaltalin, which are transfers of ownership over there, so that's just payments for a service rendered a long time ago. So therefore there's no shibud mamon on me who got the service. So therefore it doesn't pass over to my sons. And I'll have to analyze further. We'll talk about it in Seder Nezikin. If I sell property to someone, then the Baba Basra, shibud deraisa, shibud rabbanan, technically, yes, from the Carcos you can collect, but you can't collect from the metaltalin. The same idea, you can't collect from the metaltalin over there because I have balchov, the service, you lent me money, now I owe you money, so I have a shibud on my goof. But not a shibud on my mom. When the Carcos, right, maybe there is a shibud. Right, by a yorshim, the children are on my place. Maybe by mechar also, people, right, a real estate, does it really ever transfer ownership? It's just the field stays the same. I just have the deed to the field now. So therefore I have to pay a Carcos. And metaltalin, maybe I don't have to pay back by a balchov. Also, that's the difference here. Mizonos is a perpetual chiyuv versus a ksuba, which is payment for a service rendered. It's like a chov, lending someone money and paying them back. That's the fundamental difference over here. I hope you understand. You should understand. I made it very clear. See you in the next one.